How to play Eqular in 3 minutes or less. Eqular Allegiance is a strategy board game that involves worker placement, colony development, and engine building. Set in a sci-fi colony planet, you play as one of 2 major conflicting factions, or 4 minor factions against other players in an attempt to gain the most victory points. Victory points are gained in the form of VP chits, victory points from buildings or tiles, or Neurostone, the rarest resource. The game is played over 16 rounds or less if a player maxes out their population. Each player has their own colony board and shares the main game board. Once the player boards are set up with their starting colony pod building, along with resources, and the main board is set up with its building and research cards face down, play begins. Players start with 2 delegates. Players begin placing delegates one at a time in a clockwise order. Note that some spaces change every round, making choices on what place to go more diverse. Additionally, some spaces can only be used by certain factions. Delegates can be placed in the same space as an opponent or your own delegate. Doing so can have drawbacks. After all delegates are placed, they are then removed simultaneously, and the resources are gained or actions taken, along with any corresponding cost paid. When 2 delegates are removed off the same space, the resources or actions gained are divided among them, rounded down. This allows for some resource counterplay as well as other interesting interactions you will discover as you play. Some delegate locations allow for the exchange of resources, some for gain, some give research or building cards. The next phase of play is production. This is the first phase where the focus shifts to player colonies. During production, individual buildings will perform their unique function provided a player pays the population requirement as indicated on each card. Some buildings provide food, some produce energy, and some use that energy to convert raw materials into more useful resources. The next phase is feed population. During this phase, players will pay 1 food for every 4 colonists they have. This is indicated on the population track. If a player is unable to pay the required amount of food, they immediately lose half of the unfed population. Next, players develop their player board with their resources. Some buildings have a set shape. Others can be built to the player's liking with few exceptions. They must be attached to the existing zone or wall chit, except for mines, which must be built around a mountain. Additionally, all buildings with a wall requirement must have a wall covering all side spaces, not diagonal. A skilled player will design a colony that maximizes the use of its existing walls when making new buildings, as every wall costs resources. Buildings unlock more production or allow for resource conversion and much more. Finally, a cleanup phase happens where players reset population and energy. Check to see if players qualify for VP tiles. Player 1 marker is moved clockwise, and the round marker is moved up. Game ends after 16 rounds or at whatever round a player maxes out their population in. At game end, the player with the most victory points wins. And that is how you play Eqular Allegiance in 3 minutes or less.